Okay, hello. Welcome everyone. Sorry, we're a minute late here. We were just, we're so excited. So many of you have registered. We already have some comments. I mean, it's just really incredible. A lot of Notion fans, I'm thinking. Welcome. If this is your first time joining, welcome to our integration series. We are talking about how to integrate your favorite tools with Bolt using Pica. I'm Kate. I'm a community manager here at Bolt. With me is Alex, Chief of Staff. Hi, Alex.
What's up, everybody? I'm excited for this one.
Also, Paul from the Pica team.
Hey,
Hi, Paul.
Hey.
And Mo from the Pica team as well. Hi, Mo.
Hello.
And like I said, if this is your first time joining us, a few things. We are most active on YouTube. We are also streaming on X and on LinkedIn. So if you're on X or LinkedIn and it's kind of a ghost town, you can pop over to YouTube. We have a lot of comments in the chat here. We will be recording this as well, and it will be added to our YouTube channel after the call. And then a couple other housekeeping things. Put all your questions in the chat, and we will be answering them throughout the call as well. So, yeah, super excited. We also have something special for folks who joined. We're going to be showing that after the demo, so stay tuned. But yeah, Paul, do you want to kick us off and show us what you are going to be showing us how to do here?
Absolutely, yeah. Let me just get sharing here. Okay, so can we all see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, so in today's demo, what we're going to do is we're going to use Bolt to build out a blog, and we're going to have that blog connected to a Notion database to be our CMS. So essentially, we'll design what like a blog website is going to look like, and we're going to have all the records for each blog entry live inside Notion. So by the end of this, you can have a website that hosts all of your blog articles, and you only have to update it by going and editing a page inside Notion. So this is going to be really powerful, definitely a level up from the last demo that we did. And it should give you an idea of how you can use Notion in any sort of project within Bolt. And so it's beyond the idea of just using databases. It's any single endpoint that Notion offers via their API. But we're going to start by building a blog today.
And actually, Paul, sorry, before we dive into that, I just got to share a little context on why I'm excited about this particular demo. I think there's so many different folks that could benefit from this, but at the high level, like, why does a CMS or a content management system matter? If you already know, then you already know. And, hey, sorry, I'm going to waste your next 60 seconds of your life. But if you've been building sites with Bolt and you haven't yet figured out the content management system side of it, the benefit is that you can separate concerns. So managing all of your text content, if it's a real business website, maybe you're an agency building for clients, or you're a startup and you're building websites on this, or maybe you're the founder of a company and you're building your company's website on this. Oftentimes, the folks who you need to be editing the content are not necessarily going to be the same folks that are going to be building the website. And you don't necessarily want people in there making changes to the code of your website just because they need to update the way something is worded or written, or what images are in there. And likewise, if you're an agency building for customers, you very likely aren't having your customers in the tool working with you, but you might want to, they need to write a lot of the marketing copy and provide you that content. So by using Notion as the content management system and linking that to the site, you can separate those concerns, control the access better, lower the risk of anything getting broken, and just make it incredibly easy to update and add content. So that's kind of what's got me really excited about this. it's pretty wild. Notion is, this isn't even like the way Notion envisions the core of their product being used, I think, a lot of the time, right? We use Notion at work, and we use it for, you know, taking notes and meeting notes and agendas and you know, that kind of thing. But this is such an exciting thing that Pica enables, where you can link Bolt and Notion with Pica, and it unlocks this whole new situation. So with that, I will kick it back over to you, Paul, but I think this is going to be a very, very, very useful session for the folks out there.
Yeah, thanks for that, Alex. So let's start off, before we even dive into Notion and we dive into Pica, let's start off in Bolt. So if you're able to follow along in the demo as well, we're going to prompt Bolt to create our UI for our blog. And we want to make sure to tell it that this is just static data, because Bolt is smart and it's going to go ahead and actually create these records inside a database. We don't want to do that quite yet. We want to use Notion for that. So I'm going to prompt it saying, build me a blog page that has articles listed in cards with images, or let's say with an image, title, and description. For now, this is all static dummy data. When I click into a card, it should open up the blog article in a new page.
Sweet. So why did you tell it to do a demo data here? Dummy data, I mean.
So the reason I told
to add more context to your prompt here.
Yeah, the reason I told it to do dummy data is because if I didn't, there's a good chance that Bolt would actually set up a database and it would store all those blog entries in a Bolt database, which is cool, but it's not what we're trying to do here. What we want is we want it all to come from a database that we're going to create inside Notion.
Sweet. And of course, the difference here is that the database has no interface versus the Notion here has a database. So like, although you could do with the Notion being our CMS here behind the scene, this could be shared with other team members, to Alex's points at the beginning.
Yeah. There's really a lot of benefits. You can leverage a lot that Notion offers. They have really good like image hosting. You can invite people to an org. You can, you can really just build things out in Markdown, which is really helpful. Versus if you were just using a database, you're kind of limited to just plain text, and you'd have to maybe build some interface for it to look like Markdown. But what we'll end up doing is, in what Bolt builds out, we'll actually also have it so it renders Markdown in our blog. So we can edit it just the way Notion would want in a Notion page, and it would pop up in our blog formatted very well.
Sweet.
And while we're waiting for that, there's a question here in the chat. Is there a way we can get access to the last demo? I assume that you're talking about the how to integrate Gmail for sending email into your app that we covered on the last session. And absolutely, Kate can drop the link to that in the chat. You can also find that on our YouTube channel under the past live sessions tab. Flo, no code, asks about the costs for using Pica. So, well, if you stick around to the end of this demo, you may get a discount on those costs. But Mo, maybe you could speak to the pricing model for Pica.
Yeah, so the pricing model of Pica is very generous. You know, like we have a free model that gives you, I believe, 5 connections. Is it, Paul?
Connections, yep.
Yeah, well, that gets you 5 connections for free. And then from that point, you can increase it and go up from that. We have another one that is a 50 that gives you up to 300 connections. And then another one that is like more so suited for like small to medium-sized startup size businesses that goes about $300. That gives you, I believe, 50,000 connections. It's a very generous pricing. model. Yeah,
So
500 connections. 500 connections.
25,000 pass-through requests there. You can obviously pay for additional usage as well. And yeah, we have
The
beyond.
usually the free plan should get you quite a lot. So you could do pretty much anything within the free plan, and then like the starter is very generous.
Well, this seems like the right time to address these three questions. What is Pica exactly?
What is Pica?
Maybe
Well,
Mo,
Pica.
you, yeah.
Yeah. So Pica is a platform for that enables the usage of integrations at a large scale. So you could think of it like your integration artificial intelligence. And it enables you to connect to any integrations within these integrations that we have using plain English, which is what Paul is going to show now with the Notion integration. And of course, we have the agentic part. So if you need to build an agent that can control your Notion, for example, Pika can also do that. If you want to have an agent that can control your emails, Pika can also do that. So you can think of it like a platform to manage integration at scale. So you can manage integration for yourself in your own application that you're building using Bolt. But if you're building an applications in Bolt also that enables your customer to connect to their integrations, Pika can enable that to happen as well.
And this series of webinars we're doing, live streams we're doing, are going to teach you how to do a bunch of that. Like we talked about before, last one we did was Gmail. So how you can actually get your application that you build in Bolt to send emails using Gmail, which was awesome. And then, yeah, Flow No Code asks 5 connections means 5 tools. Correct. So we covered Gmail before. Now we're covering Notion, and we're going to keep covered more, and eventually you'll know how to actually use 5 tools with the thing. So, but it's really, really easy to add more.
Yes, they're saying it's like MCP. It's like MCP on steroid. It's like if you had the MCP of everything. It's in my opinion, it's better than the MCP. It's like we have an MCP support, but it's like you could think of it like an MCP on steroid.
Pika will give you everything you need for integrations in whatever way you want to use it. Oh,
close to Zapier, but all AI. So it's like Zapier. It's like the AI version of Zapier.
Yeah, that's kind of how I think about it. And as you're about to see, Paul's going to show us, it's a heck of a lot more flexible and way more fun and easy and powerful to set up, and can do way more things without you having to click a bunch of buttons and configure it all by hand, as we're about to see here.
Yeah. So here we can see that Bolt gave us a really nice blog here with a bunch of static data. Now, the next thing we're going to do, we're going to head into Notion, and we're going to actually create our database that we want to pull our blog articles from. So I'm going to just use their template here, which is going to allow me to create a document hub. So I will go ahead, I will add that in. We'll call it Bolt. We'll call it Bolt Hub. So by default, it's got 3 different pages added in here. Each of these are entries in my database. I'm going to go ahead and also add a column to this database for files and media. This is going to be the image for the blog post. So it'll be what we see in the little cards. And I guess if we go back in here, I should be able to click on this. Yeah. And I can go inside the article as well. So it'll be the image that we see here and the image that we see on the card. So let me move this over here. Let's call it image. I've just got a few images here on my desktop. I'm going to upload those. Okay, very cool. So the other thing we're going to need is, in order to grab the ID of a database inside Notion, you want to grab the URL. So if I copy the URL here, and if I go back, if I just paste that in my address bar here, I can see the part after the workspace. That is the database ID. So make sure you just copy that, keep that on the side for now. what we're going to do is, now that we have this set up, we are going to go into Pica. So all the questions that we're asking, what is Pica? What can Pica do? Pica is going to be the glue that connects our Notion database to our Bolt project. So Mo chatted about Pica and how we have all these integrations available. You can use it in multiple different ways, whether you want your customers to connect their integrations, whether you want to just build logic in your apps. We're going to focus on BuildKit, which is going to allow you to bring in integration logic into your apps that you create via Bolt. So the first thing we're going to do before we even get into BuildKit, we're going to connect our Notion to Pica. So if you're in Pica, you can access and create your account for free at app.picaos.com. You head into the connected integrations page and you add a new connection. So I'm going to connect my Notion here. I'm going to make sure that I select the page. So this is important because you want to make sure you select the page that you just created. So we called it Bolt Hub. So I'm going to give access to that. And I've got my Notion connected. Sweet. So the next thing is we're going to head into BuildKit. And BuildKit, the way it works is BuildKit's job is to take what you ask it. It could be a prompt that ties multiple integrations together, multiple actions of an integration, and give you a prompt that you can just copy and paste into Bolt. So here, I'm going to describe exactly what I want. And what I'm describing here is the backend logic. So what I want to happen on the backend side of things. So I'm going to say, I'm going to also copy this database ID so I can paste that into BuildKit so it will format the prompt accordingly to our database. So I'm going to say, I want to get the content for, you know what, actually, before we do this, we're going to say, let's say retrieve the Notion database with the ID. I'm going to paste that ID and get all the items within it. And then I'm going to say, once you have all the entries, the way that Notion treats a record on its database is actually that these are all pages. So this doc name here, these are pages. If we want to grab the content of that, we're actually going to have to retrieve the block children within that. So that's how Notion treats its database. So I'm going to say, grab the Notion database with this ID, get me all the items within it. Then I'm going to say, then also retrieve all the block children from a Notion page. So we're going to pass this to BuildKit. It's going to see the integrations that we have connected. It's going to learn and understand how exactly Notion works. And then it's going to give us a big prompt that we can then take and we can give that to Bolt.
So as you're thinking about how to prompt at this stage, you know, you didn't say anything about what you want Bolt to do with that content. Can you give us more of a mental model of how you think about what you're typing into BuildKit and Pica to sort of build the integration versus, you know, because you're building the connector, but then you got to utilize it in Bolt, and those are two different pieces. How do you separate those concerns in your head when you're building?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So when I was saying that this is kind of the backend side of things, what I meant is really this is the integration side of the backend. So when I am in Bolt, I'm simply prompting Bolt with prompts that are very tied to the app I'm building. When I'm prompting BuildKit, what I'm asking it to do is I'm asking BuildKit, give me the functionality to execute these specific actions related to an integration. So BuildKit doesn't have any context of my Bolt app. It doesn't know that I'm building a blog. It doesn't know how my blog looks. All it's going to be able to tell me is, hey, you have Notion connected. Here's how you can do something with the actions that Notion allows you to. If I had Notion and Gmail connected, I could prompt it with those integrations. It's going to be like, okay, here's how you can do things with those. So when I think of BuildKit, I'm thinking of just the logic for the integration. I then will take that And when I bring this into Bolt, then I'm going to be using more language that ties what the integration does to my Bolt app. So yeah, I copy the prompt here, and now I'm coming back to Bolt, and I'm going to tell Bolt before I just paste it in like that, because that's a mistake that you could make where you could paste it in, and Bolt is pretty smart. It's probably going to get you pretty far there, but you want to give it as much information saying, what exactly am I trying to do with that integration logic in the app I'm making here? So I'm going to tell it in description exactly that. I'm going to say,
we're getting a request to make the screen a little bigger. Paul, if you could maybe like zoom the screen.
How is this? Is this any better?
Maybe 1x extra. Yeah, there you go.
Okay. So I'm going to say I want to get the content.
And this is, so the step that Paul was just talking about, this is really, if you think about, you know, the ways in which this is kind of similar to Zapier, right? Although, you know, that's, I think, a relatively limited way of thinking about what's possible here, but it is a good analogy. And really what we just did with that prompt in BuildKit, that is like the equivalent of configuring your Zap, you know, except with BuildKit, you can build multi-integration Zaps that are all tied together with each other. And instead of being constrained by a few toggles and options and if this, then else, you know, if this, then this, else this type sort of logical statements, you can really just describe the capability you want for the connector, and BuildKit sets that up for you. And if you saw, you know, what Paul copied there, it wasn't just a vague prompt. It actually had like a bunch of code. I mean, it's actually building the integration, you know, for you there.
Exactly.
It has a lot of details. Like in Zapier, if you were building the same thing in Zapier, you would actually have to know the inner pieces of the schema of every single block, and not to mention that you need to know it perfectly.
So what I've done here, I've prompted this. So I've said I want to grab the content from my blog from a Notion database, including the title, image, description. Here's how you can get the items in. And I'm telling it that you need to fetch the database, then the items in it. And I'm saying to make sure that the page content for every page is actually rendered in Markdown. So I gave it that little piece. That's what Alex was talking about. How do we know what's connected to Pica and BuildKit, what's connected to Bolt? So here I'm giving it the information that Bolt would need specific to my app. And then I'm pasting the BuildKit prompt right below it. So the other thing I'll do, and you want to be giving as much information to Bolt as possible. So I'm also going to tell it just that it also knows the fields in my database, or you can say the columns in my database are for doc name, image, and category. So there's an interesting question here I see about Claude Code. Claude Code is more powerful. How will you guys beat Claude Code? So I want to just, maybe if you want to pop that on here, I want to also say, just so we understand, Pica and Bolt are by no means competing with a Claude Code or Anthropic's model. You can actually use Anthropic's model in Bolt. You can use it inside Pica as well. So if you were just going to Claude Code and you said, hey, here's my app, I want you to add some Notion logic, there's a lot more work that goes into that. You will have to create your OAuth application. You'll have to figure out how to manage and rotate those tokens and refresh them accordingly. You'll have to do all this work to get the app spun up. And then you can build out your integration logic for sure. But with Pica or Bolt, you can actually use Anthropic's model. You could use Claude Code. You could use these things to help you with the integration logic. So I wouldn't think of them as separate. Really, we're all playing on the same team.
And Bolt is running on Cloud Code, I believe.
Yes, I have Sonnet as the model here. So
Yeah.
Oh, Alex, I think you're on mute there.
With Bolt V2, we actually have integrated Claude Agent into. Actually, if you, Paul, if you hit the little plus in the lower left-hand corner, you can actually see right there that you are using Claude Agent, which is Claude Code, right inside of Bolt.
Nice.
Which is, by the way, like quite impressive to get it working on the browser.
Yeah, a little help from Anthropic there, but awesome. Let's see here. So with that last prompt, the idea is, I guess, this is something I sometimes run into when I move from, like demo data like this to real data. I'm just curious how that process is going to go. You didn't really explicitly tell it to blow out the demo data, if I recall correctly in the prompt. You're just kind of saying, hey, go use the integration to pull in content going forward.
Yes, yeah, that's what I said. I said fetch the content actually from Notion rather than doing this. So we have an error here because we need to. So we probably need to handle this a little more gracefully inside Bolt. But before that, we're going to want to set some secrets that Bolt will need. So these secrets will be for a Pica secret key and a Notion connection key. So if we go back into Pica. If we head into the API keys section, I'm going to call this Bolt Notion demo. I'm going to copy the key I just create here. I'm going to paste it in the Pica secret key. Then if you go back into the connected integrations table, you can copy your Notion key as well. So this is the connection key for the connection we made. I'll go ahead, create that. Close this. Now let's refresh and see what's going on here.
Wow, 0 shot at it.
So first shot.
This is fake. This is fake. I don't believe it.
So yeah, that's
shot at it. That
no way
is
to really fake this, right? You're all seeing it right away. So these are the 3 articles that we had inside our Notion database. If I go ahead and I click one, I can see, there's definitely some room for improvements here. The first heading is also duplicated, but for the very first prompt, this is actually like really awesome that we got this far. Yeah. So let's just go ahead and test this out. Now, if I had this, deployed, I have my Notion project all published, and I send someone the link to my blog. Let's test this in real time here. So we got our blog here, and we got our Notion database here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to duplicate this. We'll call this new blog post. We'll say Bolt and Pica. And let's update this image. How can we delete this? There we go. I think we have not used that image yet. Yep. Okay. So I'm just going to refresh this page here. And okay, so we have our new blog post that just popped up. If I go in, I can see the description we wrote pop up right there. And, if I wanted to go in here, if I wanted to update the title, let's say we're just going to call this company mission for 2026, and then background with an exclamation mark.
So on the way you have it currently set up is on every page load. Is that fair to say on every page load, Pica's querying the Notion for any changes?
That's exactly right. Yeah. So we inside, I'll put this back to full screen. Inside Bolt, what we have is we've got this edge function. This edge function has code that is essentially using Pica to, like you said, query Notion. And so Bolt is going to call this when we get to that page. And then in that code, Pica is going to make a request using that Notion connection we made, and it's going to return back all of the entries and their content from this page inside Bolt. So I can now manage that whole website with all those articles by never leaving this Bolt page.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. And, you know, just for advanced builders in the chat that may be thinking, because I recently built a similar app like this, and you could obviously cache the content from Notion, you know, inside, if you wanted to, inside like a Supabase database, and you could say, hey, you know, every hour, you know, like when you when the page loads, make a call to the Notion integration, pull down the latest. If the most recent request occurred within the last hour, then just use the cached version of that you store in the Bolt cloud database or whatever. So it's super flexible on how you set that kind of stuff up. But I think for a live demo, it's way cooler to have it pulling in like this, because it's so awesome that it's updated on every page refresh.
Yeah. It looks like we have some questions about this kind of stage specifically, so I want to maybe call these out. So the Notion data needs to be public, or you need to grant access from Notion to Bolt?
So the Notion data can either be public or private. Where you need to grant it access is when you create that connection through Pica. So if you recall, when we made that connection in Pica, I'll do it again so you can see it here. Pica will prompt you in that OAuth flow to actually select the pages you want to authorize. So what we did is we searched for the Bolt hub, and I gave it access to that. So if I created a new page, I would make sure I specifically select that so that this connection has access to that page, whether it's private or not. So.
And then another one, did you already have the blog content populated at the beginning, or was that AI generated in Notion?
Yeah, so if you go into Notion and if you create a new page, Notion has the option to start creating a database based on some templates already. So this isn't actually AI just yet. This is just a template they had for the document hub. You could totally start with an empty database. You could even use AI to build one, but we went with this document hub, which is kind of a starter point for blogs like this.
Sean is asking, what would happen if you had a video or audio file in one of those Notion cards?
That's a great question. Yeah. So if you had in that same, if you had over here under the files and images, you can also upload a different file type. As long as we were to tell Bolt, hey, what's in this column is actually the link to a video, or it's a video file itself, Bolt would then be able to build out something that would render that video in your app. So. The more information you give it, the better. So you would want to specify. Yeah.
Awesome. I think that's all. I think we can keep going. Those are just some specific questions about that section there. We'll get
there's a few more I wanted to hit real quick. So because there's some of these are related. So Anil asked, does this mean each time a user loads the blog page, it'll consume a Pica request? That gets back to what we were talking about a few minutes ago. So if you just got here, you can wind it back. Which is also directly related to this question. Is this also using Supabase? In the demo, the TLDR is in the demo. We have not set it up that way, but yeah, that's a trivial one prompt thing that you can set up in Bolt where you just cache the requests. And then no, it doesn't need to use a Pica request every time a person loads the page. It'll just use the Pica request every time you want to refresh the content.
Cache it. Yeah. Which is the better architecture, like doing it that way is a much better architecture in any way.
But a much worse demo, because then we'd have to wait for the cache to see our changes.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then Eli Sec says, "Is this secure?" Mo, I think that'd be a good
Very
one
much
for
so.
you to speak to, because
Super
it's
secure.
actually more
'Cause
secure than building it the normal way.
Correct.
Mhm.
It's significantly more secure because let's say you actually built it in Notion. Let's say you made Notion public for whatever reason, you have exposed there. But like with using Pika, you don't have to make Notion public. And then within Pika, if for whatever reason you were exposed, you just come to Pika and like you can immediately disable it. So you have full control within Pika. You control literally all the flow that's happening. So it's very, very secure.
And just to kind of add on that, Pika being an integration house that handles all that, Pika never stores any of your data. In fact,
Yeah.
all the data that ever goes through Pika is always passed through. So if you're using Pika's API behind the scenes, which is called the pass-through API, which is really what BuildKit was giving us code for, it was actually just giving us requests and schemas that we make to our pass-through API. Every bit of data from Notion just gets passed directly through to your Bolt app. Pika never even sees it, so you don't have to worry about your data ever getting leaked or viewed by Pika.
And when it comes to the access, Pika gets whichever access you decide to give Pika, Pika gets access to that. So like if you recall when Paul was connecting to Notion, we have a list of what access you need to give access to. And whatever you select, that's the only thing Pika will have access to.
Exactly, yeah.
And then of course you can control the read write, like from your prompt.
Very cool. Paul,
Sweet.
did you have further places you wanted to take us in the demo?
Well, so there wasn't more necessarily for this demo that I wanted to do. What we could do, I also did have this, is if we want to build a really quick waitlist sign-up form that adds those entries into a Notion table, we could also do that. So this is a use case of kind of reading and creating a blog, but the other idea is we could build some sort of form that would be used to kind of collect names and emails.
Well, if you don't have a strong preference, I'd love to keep expanding on this example here based on some questions that we have in the chat.
Sure.
So one that I think is a great question. Where was this one? It was drafts. Yeah. So this viewer asks, like, how would we go about creating different categories of posts where, hey, this one's still a work in progress. Don't throw this up on the site just because I started writing it 10 seconds
Challenge
ago.
accepted.
Okay, yeah, this is cool. So now there's definitely no way we could fake this, right? So let's think about this. If we add a new record into our Notion, there's probably a few ways we could handle this. I don't think by default. I don't think by default that we can set this page as a draft, but maybe we could add a new column that would be sort of used as the status for that article, right?
Yeah.
So
I bet that'll do it.
Yeah, let's say we're going to add a new one, and what are the different options
Status
here? You seeing a status? There you go. Yep.
Yeah, there we go.
Perfect. Okay, so let's put this here. I'm going to delete this row. And the statuses we have are in progress. So let's set these two as in progress, and let's set these two as done. So now I'm going to go back to Bolt. I'm going to say so here's the cool thing. We've given Bolt all of the information from BuildKit that it needs to be able to grab the data from our table. So now Bolt already knows, it already has the context of how to deal with that. It's got the edge function created and deployed. So we actually don't need to go back to Pika because we're not trying to find any new functionality from like a different endpoint. So if we wanted to do something different in Bolt, then we would go back to Pika. But for now, we can just prompt directly in here.
Well, wait a minute, Paul. You changed the structure of the database on the other end of the integration. I am an expert software developer. I understand that if you just change things about the third-party system, I'm going to need to update my API integration. So this is not making any sense to me, what you're saying. How is this possible?
So this is possible because while you're absolutely right, I did change what the data on Notion looks like. What I didn't change is how exactly I get that data. So the way I get that data remains the same, but the data I get back is going to be slightly different.
But Paul, on Zapier, anytime anything changes about the nature of the fields, I have to go back in and edit stuff. This is just not adding up for me.
That's absolutely correct. If we were using Zapier right now, we would have to go in and we would have to go make a bunch of those tweaks.
Let's schedule a Zapier live stream for 7 hours and we can do the same.
Yeah, this is one of the things that I love about, and this is why, another reason why we're doing these live streams is something that's so powerful about using Pica as this integration layer is you don't have to own all the granular details of how these integrations work. And that's one of the things that's so painful as a developer about building integrations. Anytime the API changes or you change the way the data is structured on one end of the application, you got to go back in and rewrite the integration. And that's a huge pain. But here, everything just flows through in a very nice, Bolt-friendly manner. So it's pretty impressive. Even with that one, I was legitimately thinking you might have to go tell BuildKit again, okay, we've changed, check on the data structure, but it's incredible how that works.
Yeah. So we will have to define that here in our app. So right at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say exactly what we did.
And by the way, I knew this question was good because Noel asked basically the same question as well. So there we go. We got you.
The progress. And what's the other one? And
MTL 1514 asked this too. So this was a good direction to go.
So I'm going to tell it exactly what the column I added was. I'm telling it also the values for the different tags within it. And then I'm saying that I only want Bolt to show the blog posts with the status that's done. So here's how you could treat the ones that are in draft. You just give it kind of an in progress status, and Bolt should hide those from this.
Cool. Well, that goes. Let's see here. Okay. So Texas Growth Factory has another kind of add-on question that I think this probably is kind of related to probably different ways you could handle this, but does this have version control? What if I have to go to a previous version of the page using Notion? Will that change affect the live page? So that's up to you. So you can build the app in Bolt however you want to ingest this data, right? Yep. So the way we have it set up right now is instantaneously changes from Notion are synced into your Bolt site. But you could run this however you want. I mean, you could have daily versions, you could have manually triggered versions. So you could build, in Bolt, you could build an admin panel for your blog with a update content button. And you could just tell Bolt every time you do that, pull in the latest content from Notion. And then you could say, let me name that version and store it in my Bolt Cloud, database. So it's all up to you. It's totally flexible, but yeah, you could absolutely set it up any way you like along those dimensions. There was, another good question here from Alex Hogan. Maybe this, how could you do scheduled posts? I think that there's multiple ways you could do this. I'm not a Notion expert, but I think Notion has some automation. So you might actually be able to just automatically
Or I would say easily just add a field of like launch date, and then in Bolt you just tell it, like only show where the launch date is larger than now.
Yep, that would totally work. So you can build that in at the app layer, probably build it in at the Notion layer too, just to flip the status of the particular post at the appropriate point in time. So yeah, probably different ways you could use that.
So
This is a funny question. Bamford Company asks, I noticed you're not using planning mode at all before implementing. Is that because you're doing simple, small changes? No, that's just because Paul's reckless. Okay. I was absolutely thinking about that earlier. I mean, look, we're doing demos, so you kind of want to just shoot from the hip and hope it works out. But if I was building this in an app that I was doing, I would definitely use plan mode and see how it was thinking through what I just described, and then go from there. But it makes the demo a little less exciting because you're reviewing plans and such instead of just shooting from the hip.
yeah, that might be the best way for actually building it out. So here we got back a response, and we don't see any blog posts here. So something isn't right with how it's filtering, because we've got actually 2 that are in progress and 2 that are done. So I'm going to say exactly that.
So while you're working on that, here's a very easy low ball question for Mo.
Yep. The answer, can Pica manage my Google Drive? Yes, 100%. We support Google Drive.
Another couple integration questions around ClickUp and Asana.
We have both.
There we go. I knew these were going to be easy ones. Here's one I've never heard of: Obsidian database.
I don't believe we have Obsidian database, but I don't know if they have APIs, but if they do have APIs and we have enough requests for Obsidian, we can most certainly add it.
Here's one of my favorite questions. How do you make this SEO optimized? Plan mode. Plan mode is so good at this. So I've done this for a website that my wife built for her local services business. I just feed in, like, once you have your keywords identified, like think about, the information that you have in your the type of keywords you're using in your Google ads, that kind of thing. Just feed all of that information into plan mode and ask it to review your site top to bottom and come up with a full plan for SEO optimization. And it'll do all the image tags and the meta descriptions and all that stuff with all your keywords in mind. The other thing that I did is, if you're doing SEO optimization, you should use the Google, I think it's Google Search Console. It has the performance check tool to make sure that you're getting fast page loads, and then just feed the results of that back into plan mode if there's any issues. On the site that I was working on, there actually was an issue. There was something weird where we switched from like having a background image to not, but it was still trying to pull in an image that was no longer there, and it was slowing down page load by like 700 milliseconds. And so I didn't realize that till I ran it through the Google Search Console tool, just fed the results of that back into Bolt, took care of it, and been off to the races from there.
We got a bunch of requests for Obsidian, so I added it to the list. We should have it in no time.
There you go.
Yeah, I want to take a second to talk about our next live stream. We'll be covering HubSpot in next week's live stream. So I'm going to include the link here. But if there's any integration that you would like us to cover in these streams, let us know, either in this chat or on Twitter or anywhere else we exist. Let us know and we will get it scheduled.
Paul, Jason on Brand has an idea here. I don't know if this is it, but this is a suggestion from the chat.
Yeah, I did see that. So I scrolled back up and saw that we said based on the progress columns value, so it should be status column. But we did also say, we've added a column for status.
Oh yeah.
I did catch that too. That's a very good point. Now here, I'm not exactly sure if Bolt actually ran this or if it had an issue at the end.
May try, retry.
Yeah, we could just try the retry again. But I could also just take that thing and specify, like, remember that
Oh yeah, maybe that's better.
column's name is, and just to double check, it is status.
Oh yeah, actually, everyone in the chat, everyone in the chat was talking about that. Just catching up. Let's see. This must have been a few minutes ago. Okay, not Zapier. Yeah. Not bullying, just it was a good opportunity to make the point.
Fun fact, actually, you could build a Zapier in Bolt using Pica, quite literally. We should probably do a live stream later, like a super advanced live stream where you build a Zapier in Bolt. Not like essentially your users will be using Zapier, where you could build a whole workflow inside Bolt.
Yeah, and that's because of something we haven't really got into, but maybe Mo, you could touch on the auth kit capabilities, because that's kind of some mind-blowing stuff.
Yeah.
We're someone was asking we covered the pricing in the beginning, but we do have some more questions on pricing. Maybe we could cover that again.
Yeah, with the consumer search pricing with Pica, it's a transaction based. So like every transaction is like you're doing to the integration to. So for example, if you're sending an email, that's a transaction. You're loading a database, that's a transaction. So this is usually how it goes. And as I mentioned, like most of our plans are super generous. Controversial. Does this happen once integration is in place? What if I have to go to previous version page using? Yeah, I think Alex already covered that. But you would, I think, like depending on how you prompted Pica to set up your APIs, it'll work based on that. So like if you set it up to a particular version, then it'll be set obviously to that version. But usually when you don't specify a version, the Notion API, I believe, will give you the most latest version, which means like whatever you update, it'll be set there.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. If this next prompt doesn't work, Paul, I'm going to give you the advice that I often give people on our live streams, which is we have version history and we have a known good. I don't know how, this somehow got off the bounds, even though what we were asking was really quite simple. And so if this one doesn't do the trick, what we should do is use version history to roll back to before we made this request and just try making the request from the beginning in a different way with what we've learned. Unless you think you've cracked it, but I haven't been watching your debug activities.
So interestingly enough, if we look back here, the status that it's fetching here shows that it's an empty string. So however, it's mapping title, it's mapping doc name to the title, but status is coming in as nothing. So I am going to try this one time, and then we might just roll back like you said. And I'm going to tell it the status is not, I guess it should be able to figure that out.
And I also want to mention something about this, even though in AI, like sometime when we're working with AI, in a lot of cases, it's working right away. It's working right away. But in real development, it's rare that like we get things working. Like I've been a developer for more than 25 years, and I've almost never got anything working from the first try. You know, like there's almost always like a try and like back and forth, back and forth. So the fact that AI works most of the time, it's actually quite miraculous to think about it. The point that we got to the point where like when something doesn't work at zero shot, we go like, okay, what's going on here? But we have to give the AI some credit here.
Yeah, 100%. And then Eli Sec, essentially Pika makes the workflow just by the user telling it what you want it to do. Correct.
That is correct.
I want to use this maybe just a couple minutes here to showcase in cases like this, what you can actually do with Pica's Playground. So if you hop into the Pica dashboard and you're running into a case where like, I want to see before I go into Bolt and I actually bring that integration logic in, I want to see what I can do with an integration. The Playground is a great place to just test that stuff out. So if I would say, for example, I'm going to grab that same database URL.
Yeah, like in this case, I'm really curious to see what do our columns look like, and just what does the text dump of that look like? Because I'm wondering if we're getting that status column content pulled through.
Mm-hmm, exactly, yeah, because maybe Notion's naming it something else. Maybe these values here are defined as something entirely different than just a string. And so let's see what exactly it says.
Oh, it looks like it has a color.
It's not a color with this. So I don't think it's just text, but let's take a look here. And we can see here that when we look at the actual response that Notion gave us, let's see. The status has a little more here. It's got which is done.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So it's not just a plain string, because I guess if we used like the field type text, that would have been the case, but Notion has the status type that's a little different. So I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to grab this and I'm going to give this, because this should help Bolt as it works through. Here's the shape of the data.
I would actually roll back if I was you at this point, because all this, it's added all this debugging and stuff, trying to figure out what's going on, which isn't really relevant. So if you click on the name of your project there in the upper left-hand corner, and then version history, then you should be able to roll back to
Integration Notion blog, I think.
Yeah, that one. And you can actually click there, and this hasn't rolled back yet. This is just loading. It should load a preview, but yeah, I would just go ahead and restore that version, because
so perhaps it might be this one here.
Okay, yeah, that.
Nope, maybe it's this one.
Yep, that one should be the known good one, I would think.
Yes, yeah. So we'll go ahead, we'll restore this version. And then
yeah, so now we're back to just the original version that doesn't include the filtering. And then now we've learned that the status column is actually not a string, but rather a very complex multi-line entity. And now we can factor that in.
Yes, a new column in my interface.
And I think, Anil, this is a great point, and this is kind of what Mo was getting at, is like part of why these live streams are valuable, and why are we not just pre-recording this, right? Yeah. Because it's like going through this process is what you need to actually understand to become an expert user of these tools. Like, these tools aren't a magic genie where you just drop in whatever you kind of think, the solution is. It's an iterative process. It's a skill set. It's a different skill set than writing software from scratch by hand. Thank God I'm not trying to learn that skill set. But the iterative, the phrase I like is software composer. That hasn't fully caught on as the phrase, but that is exactly what you're doing. You're composing software out of some components. It doesn't mean it's a skillless thing where you just dump random text in the box and like hope it works out. You know, that's not where you can get the best returns. And some of what you're seeing Paul work through here is how you really develop the skill set.
I always say when software doesn't work, it's a big opportunity for learning because it means I missed something. And this is no different here, like because the AI is doing something, it's building the software for us, and we are guiding it through like the real world. And like the real world in this case is Notion. And to like one comment was mentioning here that we thought it was a text, but it turns out it was a little more complex than like a normal plain text. And again, like this is an opportunity for learning because now we kind of like learn that sort of aspect of how these sort of things work. And again, like we grow with each one of these opportunities.
100%. And there we go. It's a success right there. That's what I'm talking about.
There we go.
These two visible. If I go in here and let's say I will make this new blog post we had also as done, and I'll go ahead and refresh. I guess I could have just refreshed it here. We should have 3 that pop up now. There we go.
Sweet.
Awesome. Okay. Well, given time, I think that's where we're going to leave the demo. Thanks, Paul, for all the work there. And yeah, Kate, can you thank you all for joining us on this journey. This is just scratching the surface. There's so much more you can do here, but this should get you started. And to help you build, we've got a little bit of a treat for you today.
Yes. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. We have a discount code for you all. Bolt Pica. It is for the Pica starter or pro plan. And then also you can apply the same code to Bolt. This is for new users only, but you can, a lot of you are asking how the Pica works. Here's a little discount to get you started.
Absolutely. And this is only good for the next hour. So go get signed up. If you're watching this video on YouTube as a recording, I'm sorry, you got to join the live streams live. So stay tuned. We will absolutely be bringing this crew back for more of the same. Kate, do you want to wrap us up here?
Yes, I think that is, sorry, I'm trying to get us back here. We're trapped. Yes, thank you, everyone. Like I said, we will be hosting another live stream next week on HubSpot. I did see your suggestions for some more integrations, so we will definitely take a look at those for the following. Kathleen, it does look like you were asking if that's an M dash or a hyphen. It's a hyphen. We ban M dashes around here. But I also included the Luma and for next week, and we will see you all soon. Thank you so much.
Fantastic.
Thanks, everyone.
See you guys.
Thank you.